came in like a missile, like a fireball missile across from the New York Harbor side, I guess from the Newark direction. It came in like a spear. It just speared through the building like a fireball. You know, you can see the cut of the incision into the building is sideways, so the plane was slightly on its side, and that's why it made me think maybe it was in distress. But then when it obviously hit, there was almost no doubt that it was intentional. I dropped the phone, and my arms dropped to my side, and I just heard everybody in the office say, "Get out, get out." And then it was when I was heading down on 27, just about 27, didn't hear an explosion. All of a sudden, the staircase moved, and a crack in the wall appeared, maybe about 6 or 8 inches. I kept on looking at the numbers coming down the stairwell, 15, 14, counting, and then I actually thought, oh, I can make it. When I got out, I looked like I've never seen war up close, but today I have.
You know, I said, that's going to go down like the first one. And it came down, and it was just this sound, this rumble, and this mass cloud coming at us. It's intense.
At that point, we decided just to get out of there. People were just going crazy at that point, evacuating.
Everybody go straight. This ambulance is about 100 feet ahead.
We're evacuating this part of Manhattan. Clear out of here now. Folks, we are evacuating this part of Manhattan. Get out of here now. Let's go, folks. Let's go. Let's go. Come on.
How are people getting off the island right now?
Right now, they're walking. A lot of people are getting up to the bridges, and they're walking over the 59th Street Bridge. They're walking over the Brooklyn Bridge.
Long Island Railroad, limited service. New Jersey, if you want to get to New Jersey, folks, you have to go to 34th and 11th at the Jacob Javits Center. They will assist you getting to New Jersey. Long Island Railroad, limited service, city subways, not working.
Most of you remember that video or have heard stories of what had happened at that point in time. However, it is now 21 years later. There is an entire generation of kids out there who were never alive during that time. As a matter of fact, that was my 16th birthday, and I remember that quite well. We'll get into that a little bit here. Today we have Travis from Flip the Script podcast back again with us. Travis, how you doing, man?
Doing great. Happy birthday, by the way. Forgot.
Appreciate that, man. But yeah, there's, like I was saying, there's a whole another generation that has no idea any of this happened. And it's kind of frightening. I'm starting to feel a little bit old from living through all of this history now. It's getting kind of weird. Before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead, smash that like button, share the show with your friends. That's why we are here. We want to hear from you guys more often, have conversations about your thoughts and your ideas around things like this. So go ahead and please get the word out there about this so we can start talking to y'all more. Now, Travis, do you remember where you were on September 11th, 2001?
Yes, I was in high school. I think it was my sophomore year, and I was at my locker. I think I was getting ready. I don't remember what class I was going to, but one of my friends came up to me and said, "Hey, a plane hit the World Trade Center." My initial thought was, how stupid can you be? It's like you didn't see, a plane didn't see these giant buildings, right? So, and as the day goes on, people are starting to say that, you know, like this was intentional, it was an attack. So there's like the principal in the lunchrooms. Nobody's really saying anything, but they start calling people down whose parents work in New York, and they start calling those kids down to the office. And it wasn't until it was like my 7th period class. There's 8 periods in the school day. So my last class, or my second to last class, the teacher was like, "The World Trade Center is gone. The buildings fell. We're under attack." And I didn't really believe it. I was like, "There's no way. There's no possible way that the buildings fell." Because I'm thinking that the buildings fell like this, right?
Right.
Thinking they fell on their sides. I didn't realize that they fell down like that. And so it wasn't actually until I got home from school and actually saw what happened on TV that I actually, like, it really hit me and saw what was going on. It was pretty wild. And like when I talked to my wife about it, they actually set up TVs in her school and they all watched it. But they didn't do that in my school. They kept us in the dark about what was really going on at that time. But so I don't know. What was your experience like?
Oh, mine. Well, I was 16 years old. Like I said, it was my birthday, and I usually skip my birthday. You know, I always have ever since I was a little kid. So I was at home sleeping and got a phone call from a friend of mine. You know, he was homeschooled at that time. So he's just like, I answer the phone. I'm all like dazed out of it, just waking up. And he's like, "Dude, a plane just struck the World Trade Center. You need to wake up. We're going to war." I was like, "Man," because he fucks with me a lot, right? So I was like, "Man, you're just straight up lying just to fuck with me here. I'm going back to bed." So I hung up the phone and I laid down on the couch to go back to sleep. And a little while later, he calls me and he's like, "Dude, another plane just struck the other tower. Get up. World's going to hell. We're all going to die." And I'm just like, "Bitch." So it's like, "No, I'm going back to bed. I'm done. Let the world end. I'll be asleep for it." So I hung up the phone and I laid back down, but I couldn't get back to sleep. So I was like, fuck. So I got up, took a shower, got dressed, walked over to his house. You know, it was on the news at that point in time. And, you know, I walked into his bedroom and he's sitting there watching. I'm like, "Fuck, you weren't lying to me." He's like, No, I'm not. Why?" You know, he was freaking out a bit. I was like, "Dude, you're always messing with me. Calm down. I don't know what happened here. Let's recap with all of this." So, yeah, we sat there for the entire day watching the news and kind of talking about it, freaking out. And, yeah, that was a weird little day for me as well.
Yeah.
And, yeah, 16th birthday. What a birthday present.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my interaction on my 16th birthday. So, hey, look, it worked. Oh, that's 3 people. Here we go. Yeah, and I just didn't have, like, ever since then. It's just like, you know, I'll go around people close to this around this day. You know, older people I'll go in there to get like beer or something like that. They'd be like, "Well, what's your birthday?" And I'll say 9/11/85. And they'd be like, "Okay, wait a minute." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, it's a thing." Yeah. But while we're doing this, ladies and gentlemen, Travis is going to have a hard stop here. So we'll do this as quickly as possible to get this done. From the USA Today, which, mind you, USA Today has recently had to remove 23 articles because the reporter, or the journalist, as they call them, has fabricated a lot of shit. But this one here is 21 years later. These powerful photos tell the story of 9/11. The country was forever changed on this day 21 years ago. Terrorists hijacked and crashed passenger planes into the buildings in New York and just outside of Washington, D.C. One hijacked plane drove into an empty field. Its hijackers' plans foiled by a group of courageous passengers. Nearly 3,000 victims' lives were claimed by the extremist group Al-Qaeda's 9/11 attack. New York City lost more than 400 responders who rushed to help at the burning World Trade Center. More than 83,000 first responders have rolled into a Centers for Disease Control program that provides support for a number of medical conditions like cancer and post-traumatic stress disorder that arose from being at the site of the attacks. September 11, 2001 set the stage for new global war on terror launched by former President George W. Bush. The United States military and its allies set out to eliminate Al-Qaeda terrorist network harbored by the Taliban in Afghanistan in a costly war that ended last year with the United States withdrawing its troops and Taliban taking control of the country. Yeah, a 20-year war failed. We're not going to get into that, but you son of a bitch. Which, for everybody that doesn't know, that was the Afghanistan pullout debacle that Biden couldn't function with. American counterterrorism. What?
I was about to say that nobody in the upper echelons of our military were able to figure it out either. You know?
Oh yeah,
which is amazing.
Just go ahead and pull out in the middle of the night and just up and leave everything. It's cheaper to create another Desert Storm incident than it is to ship everything home. And you had over a year to prepare for that. Okay. American counterterrorism operations have eliminated minds behind the 9/11 attacks. The 2011 Navy SEAL operation killed the infamous Al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden, and a missile strike in July killed Ahmed al-Zawahiri. Wait. That dude died 3 times, apparently.
Dude, so many times this guy's been killed.
I don't even know what to believe with that anymore, but yeah, he's been dead 3 times now. Let's see. Who led the United States considered a co-planner of the 9/11 attacks. Here are some of the most powerful images captured during and after the 9/11 attacks. This one right here was that was the second tower, and the plane struck the second tower right at the moment of explosion. Of course, the aftermath after the towers came down, all the soot and rubble and dust and all of that. I kind of remember this. Most of these photos are etched into my mind and a lot of the videos. This was the Pentagon. There was a plane that struck the Pentagon. The fourth plane that went down in Shanksville. Yeah, what a name, by the way, Shanksville. But the fourth plane went down in Shanksville because of the people on board actually stopped the attack. Hold on.
Yep. Kudos to them. I think that one was going towards the either the White House or the Capitol building. I don't remember which one that one was supposed to be going to.
I think that one was supposed to be headed towards the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the rubble, people, the mass exodus people. There was a lot that actually. This is the Shanksville one here.
No.
There was a lot of things around that still to this day, none of it really does. Look at that. Payphones. Jesus. But there's a lot still to this day that just doesn't make sense at all.
No.
Okay. Yeah. There's President Fuckface there. Yeah, that guy was during that time Bush was reading to children, and they told him about it, and he just sat there staring at the camera for a little bit and then started reading again, and everybody got pissy about that.
Yeah.
Because he didn't respond right away. I mean, what do you want him to do?
Right.
He was in a school with children. You want him to freak the kids out? Come on.
Right.
I do have to admit, like, he could have just been like read a little bit more and just been like, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta go or something like that. But to not freak the kids out, I got you.
Right.
I understand. And I'm okay with that. I really am. Let's see. Yeah, they grounded all the flights after that across the country to figure out what was going on with that. A classroom with kids watching. And that's it with that one. But yeah, let's go into. I forgot. Let's go into a little bit of the timeline of this here situation. All these ads at the bottom, whatever. Can you not? I swear to God, why are pop-ups still a damn thing in this age? But
Ad money.
see if we can. Yeah, here we go. Okay, during that time, American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, they left Boston. Now, these were the two that actually flew into the World Trade Centers. There was one that left from New York City, Flight 93, United Airlines Flight 93. That was the one that went down in Shanksville because the people on board actually had foiled the hijacking attempt. And American Airlines Flight 77 left Washington, D.C., turned around right over Ohio and Kentucky. This was the one that went into the Pentagon there. Parts from Boston, Logan International, bound for Los Angeles, 11 crew members and 81 passengers, including 5 hijackers. That was Flight 11. When did that? At 7:59, they took off. At 8:14, Flight 175, United Airlines Flight 175, takes off from Boston, headed for Los Angeles. 9 crew members aboard, 56 passengers, including 5 hijackers. Let's see. At 8:19, a flight attendant on Flight 11 alerts American Airlines that the plane has been hijacked. So what was that? For 5 minutes after taking off, the plane was hijacked. She reports that the cockpit is not answering and that the hijackers reportedly have a bomb. In addition, other 2 flight attendants and a passenger had been stabbed. The passenger later determined to be Daniel Lewin, formerly served in the Israeli military, and it is thought that he tried to stop the hijacking. Some speculate that he was the first victim of the attack. At 8:20, American Airlines Flight 77 departs from Dulles International Airport in Washington, D.C., bound for Los Angeles. The plane is carrying 6 crew, 58 passengers, including the 5 hijackers. Before boarding, 3 of the terrorists had set off metal detectors when going through security, but all passed subsequent inspections. How? If you set off metal detectors in an airport, now it's gotten a lot more strict.
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's a lot different now.
But if you're setting this stuff up in metal detectors and everything, how did they pass through?
Complacency. That's what it is, complacency. And, people, it's not hard to set off a metal detector, so belts, anything, change, so they probably walk through like, oh, it's my belt. That's probably, now we have to take off our belts. But before that, I don't know if we did,
Well, yeah, I mean, there were, if you ran through the metal detector and set something off and say like you had a belt on or something, like they would have take it off and go back through again. Like my steel toe boots for work will set off the metal detectors if I still have them on, which now you have to take them off anyway. But loose change, anything in your pocket that would set it off, they would make you empty out everything and pass through multiple times until you didn't set anything off. So how these guys got through, even back then, I don't know.
You have, you have human beings working these things, right? So I could see under situations where you have long lines, people are complaining, and you're just trying to rush people through, And like it's before 9/11 happened, so nobody was really thinking about that. They were in a complacency mindset, peacetime mindset, not thinking about terrorism, not thinking about any of that. So that's how things fall through the cracks.
I guess. Yeah, I could see that actually being a thing. But, I mean, even before then, if you set off metal detectors in any area, they would make you do the same. If anybody was complaining, it was more like them getting pissed at the person that was holding up the line.
Right.
So, yeah. There are a lot of questions still about this, and it's mind-blowing how so many things could have gone wrong that would have stopped this had they have been done right.
Correct. Right.
For all this to happen.
Yep.
But at 8:21 a.m., transponder on Flight 11 is turned off, making it difficult for air traffic controllers to monitor its course. Why are transponders allowed to be turned off in the first place? Those are some things like a black box and everything. You can't shut that down. Transponders should be something you should never be able to turn off unless the plane is gone or going down, or there's a lot more happening to it. Let's see. Mistakenly broadcast over. Oh, this happened at 8:24 a.m. Mistakenly broadcasting over air traffic control channels instead of public address system. Flight 11 hijacker Muhammad Atta, who is piloting the plane, announces, "We have some planes. Just stay quiet, and you'll be okay. We are returning to the airport." This was soon followed by, "Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any moves, you'll endanger yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet."
How do they know that this happened? That they were saying that? Which plane was this?
The Flight 11.
This is the one that went into one of the buildings?
Yes. Flight 11
How do they know what was said?
I guess through the black box, because all communications on the plane through air traffic control, other planes and everything like that is recorded.
So the black box survived?
I'm not too sure about. I know one did.
And they were able to find that?
Through all of that?
That sounds a little crazy,
But it did go through air traffic control channels, so I don't know if the towers are.
Oh, so maybe it was okay.
But if the towers recorded it, then,
so they said that over the radio communications.
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So that was probably recorded somewhere else then. Okay.
But at 8:37 a.m., air traffic controllers at Boston's Logan Airport alert the U.S. military Northeast Air Defense Sector. Those planes should have already been off the ground before then. Because this motherfucker says this shit at 8:24, and it takes you 13 minutes to alert the military. It takes you 13 minutes to say, there have been planes hijacked. We need to scramble jets. Really? That seems like a huge failure. But yeah. At 8:42, Flight 175 makes its last... What?
I was going to say, why would the hijackers alert air traffic controllers that they got planes?
Well, it wasn't supposed to happen. They were supposed to just say it over the plane's internal communications. But I guess they didn't know how to flip the communications or anything like that. So they were saying it actually to air traffic control by accident.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
So yeah, the people inside the plane still didn't know what was going on or anything like that. So yeah,
gotcha.
But at 8:42 a.m., Flight 175 makes its last communication with air traffic controllers, reporting that during takeoff, it heard a suspicious transmission from another airplane, later determined to be Flight 11. Around this time, Flight 175 is hijacked, and some 5 minutes later, its transponder code is changed. I got a problem there. If the military was alerted at 8:37 a.m., another, 5 minutes later, after that, this flight that was already going on takeoff once they figured out, heard the transmission that Flight 11 had been taken off, or that had been hijacked. These guys were still taking off at that time. Immediately, why wasn't anything in the surrounding area already grounded?
Right.
I mean, there's so much failure on everybody's part with this. Like, if I had gotten any kind of report of, people saying, we got planes, don't do anything, just be calm and stay quiet and things like that, immediately I'd start grounding the hell out of them or trying to at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Transponder code is changed. Now, okay. I have a problem with that as well. Transponders should not be able to be changed at all or turned off. Like I said, there is a huge problem with that. Now, transponder codes, yeah, I get it. They should be changed, different flights and everything like that. But that should only be done by somebody on the ground.
But
United Airlines Flight 93 departs from Newark International Airport in New Jersey, headed to San Francisco. Aboard are 7 crew members and 37 passengers, including 4 hijackers. At this point, no aircraft have been notified that Flight 11 has been hijacked.
Oh, that's nice.
I call bullshit on that. Well, okay, no aircraft had probably been notified, which is
So somebody in the airport's probably been notified.
I mean, these dudes did this at 8:24, where they said that over the intercom. And at 8:42, almost 20 minutes later, nobody says shit to people yet.
That's a problem.
Right. At 8:44, 20 minutes after the dude spoken to air traffic control, a second flight attendant on Flight 11 is on the phone with air officials and reports that the plane is in rapid descent and that it is flying way too low. Then the call abruptly ends. Okay, so I was going to question how the hell you're on the phone with somebody, but being way too low to the ground, crashing into the towers, you're going to pick up a cell phone signal or something like that. Now there are communications within the plane itself, but I don't think a hijacker is going to let you pick up a phone on the plane itself.
Right.
At 8:46, 2 military jets are ordered to depart on Otis Air National Guard Base in Cape Cod, headed to New York. It took you that long. 22 minutes. You were notified. Wait. When were they notified? 8:19. Alerts. Cockpit's not answering. 8:20. Did I go too far? Yeah, I did. 8:14 plane altitude. However, there is no response. Investigators. Where was the military notified? Yeah, there we are. At 8:37, U.S. military air defense was notified. At 8:46, 2 military
It's almost
jets
an hour. Over an hour?
No, that was at 8:20 something.
Oh, 8:36 and then 8:46. Yeah. Okay.
8:37 and
8:37.
8:40. So it took you 11 minutes to notify them to get them in the air. Again, that is a huge problem. You say that's rapid response, but at a time like that, no. That is snail's fucking pace. They should have been in the air immediately.
To play devil's advocate here, we have to consider if there was any pilots that were like ready to respond to something like that, and if they had to call somebody, if they had to go get the plane ready, how long does that take? So I don't know how long they had to do that, or
suiting up and everything like that, yeah.
Or maybe they do have pilots on standby ready to go at any time. I don't know, but that's something to consider.
I don't know either. But setting it up and everything,
I don't know.
You're right. Yeah, it's setting that up, then getting the pilot suited up and getting the planes. Yeah, okay, I can see that time. But yeah, the real problem though is throughout this entire thing. This came out after the fact, but throughout this entire thing, there was chatter going on, increased chatter about, terror attacks happening in the United States. That they were just like the FBI with all these mass shooters. Oh, well, we knew it was coming. We just didn't do anything about it kind of situation, and it just keeps happening that way. Like they know about these things, but it just seems like they let them happen,
Yeah, I mean, the only explanation, again, trying to play devil's advocate, like I'm not trying to give the benefit of the doubt or anything, but the only thing that I could come to is that they probably get so many threats and so much information coming through. It may be hard to decipher what's real, what's not, right? So maybe it did come across them, but did they recognize it as a credible threat or something that would actually come to fruition? I don't know. And that could be a failure on them for not recognizing that what was real and what was not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay, I know it would be very, very hard to do so, but when you're dealing with national security and things like that, especially now, it'd be incredibly hard to do so because you got so much turmoil within this country at this point. But at that time, I would consider anything to be a credible threat, you know, until I can say, okay, well, this is just some random dude just pissed for some reason, you know.
Right.
It's not like we have right now, but you know, something like Tim Pool being swatted multiple times, that bomb threat, Marjorie Taylor Greene being swatted, Jeremy Hambly being swatted. Apparently now the IRS building in Memphis was swatted. I guarantee.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't hear about that yet.
Did you hear about the? Okay, you know about the Facebook shooter dude, right?
Sounds familiar, but I can't think of it right now.
Where he was just going around on Facebook Live, just live streaming.
Yes.
Okay, well, they catch him, and then apparently we start getting active shooter notifications at the IRS building in Memphis as well. Turns out there wasn't an active shooter situation. They just swatted the IRS building. So, yeah. Okay.
I bet you
I'm not going to say anything on that, but
I bet you they find out who did that though.
Oh yeah, they're definitely going to find that.
They can't figure out who does it to anybody else, but they'll figure out who did it to the IRS. Definitely.
Right. They can't figure out that, you know, the person that swatted Marjorie Taylor Greene 3 different times. Oh, they used a computer voice saying they didn't like her stance with transgender children. They're not going to find out who did that, but
no.
The person that did that to the IRS, I guarantee you, within the next week, he's going to be in custody.
Yeah.
The incident with Tim Pool, you know, that started right after Marjorie Taylor Greene's episode, you know, and he deals with that pretty much a couple of times a week now, you know. Yeah. There was one incident that happened with Tim Pool live where he kept his thing going, and Jeremy Hambly was sending him super chats to promote his coffee company that he started, and then he gets swatted that same time. But you can't figure out who does this, right?
No, too complicated, too complex.
Oh God. Okay. But at 8:46 and 40 seconds, hijackers on Flight 11 fly the airplane into the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. The impact occurs between floors 93 and 99. The crash instantly kills hundreds, including all those on board. Almost immediately, emergency responders are sent to the building. So, the 2 military jets are scrambled, and 40 seconds later, the first tower gets hit. Y'all should have been off the ground. Yeah. 8:46, 2 military jets are ordered to depart. 8:46 and 40 seconds, the plane hits the first tower. Y'all should have been in the air already.
But think about it. Let's say they did get off in time. Let's say they were able to confront this aircraft before it went into the building. What would they have done? Would they have shot the plane down in the middle of the sky over New York City?
That would have caused a lot more damage. I don't know.
What would they have done?
That is a good question. Because that would have caused a lot more damage, a lot more collateral damage at that point with falling debris. And it's not like when you blow up a plane that damn big, like one of these commercial aircrafts, like everything explodes into little fragments. No. I mean, you're going to have wings coming down, you know, fuselage parts.
But then you might get blowback from people saying, like, you know, you just killed a whole bunch of people on board.
Right.
Even though they're preventing a building from being hit, and like nobody would have known what kind of damage that would have caused, right? But then it
No.
would have been like our American military just shot down a civilian plane.
Especially with people not knowing what was going on at that point in time because they weren't hearing the
Right,
transmissions
exactly.
and everything. They're just going to see fighter jets shooting down a commercial airline. Everybody's going to be pissed. You know?
Right.
So, I mean, you do have a point with that. But I don't know what could have been done in that situation other than, even if they didn't shoot it down, you're just going to see two fighter jets escorting this commercial airline into a building.
Yeah.
The optics of that are going to look even worse than shooting them down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, but I feel like they should have been in the air a long time before this happened.
I mean, maybe it could have been a deterrence, at the most. Maybe they could have been like, all right, you know what? Maybe we're not going to do this. But these guys already planned on dying anyway, so maybe it wouldn't have mattered. I don't know.
Yeah, it probably. I mean, if I was gonna do that, it wouldn't have mattered. You shoot me down,
Yeah.
optics are still gonna look bad anyway. You
Right.
let me hit this building, following us in, it's gonna look bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got your point with that. But at 8:51 a.m., Flight 175 changes from its assigned altitude, and repeated efforts by air traffic controllers to contact the plane are unsuccessful. Okay, those planes that took off should have already been en route to them. As soon as that airline changed it from its flight path, those fighter jets should have been in line. They should have
Right.
followed suit. At 8:51 a.m., Flight 77 had its last routine radio communication. It is believed the plane is hijacked shortly after. So Flight 77, they would have known nothing about for some time until it either changed course or routine radio communications for the next one. At 8:52 a.m., flight attendant on Flight 175 calls United Airlines and informs officials that the plane has been hijacked and that both pilots are dead. During this time, passengers are also phoning family and friends. Passenger calls will provide important information about the hijackings and subsequent investigations. So yeah, Flight 175 was already low enough to pick up a phone signal at that point in time, unless they're using like in-plane Wi-Fi, for Wi-Fi calling as well. But I don't think that was around that much at that time, was it? I mean, we are talking about 20 years
It's
ago.
2000. Yeah, it's 2001. Like, cell phones are still like flip phones, or like they're not advanced at all. And
So they were low enough to pick up signal.
yeah,
That means
I don't know. Did planes have like those phones and like in the seats at that time? Because I see there's a lot of like there's like every year we hear these voicemails of like people on the planes calling their family and like leaving messages. I'm always wondering, how are they doing that? I'm guessing maybe they had low enough to pick up signal. Maybe some of those flights that were supposed to go to like San Francisco across country, maybe they had phones on there. I don't know.
I have no idea. Like, I was 16 at the time, dude.
Yeah.
I had been on
I know I've been on
a plane when I was a baby, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on some planes in the last 10 years or so that have had like those phones in there you have to pay for.
Right.
But I don't know if they had those back then. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. Let's see. Yeah, we read that one. 8:54, Flight 77 heads south from its assigned path. 2 minutes later, hijackers turn off the plane's transponder. Efforts to contact the aircraft are unsuccessful. I still have yet to hear anything about at least those two jets that were scrambled. And it's been 30 minutes they've been in the air at least. 25 minutes they've been in the air at least, 8:55 a.m. U.S. President.
Does this say where they took off from?
Well, we got the little picture at the very top here. 11
the military planes.
Yeah. They were Logan Airport alerts U.S. military Northeast Defense Sector. Uh, da- 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 da. 2 military jets are ordered to depart from Otis Air National Guard Base in Cape Cod. Where's Cape Cod?
That's in like Massachusetts, New England somewhere.
Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Yeah,
I think it's
Cape
Massachusetts.
Cod, Massachusetts, mainland Massachusetts.
So there's a Air Force base in New Jersey, McGuire Air Force Base. I used to go camping when I was a kid. And we would go camping, and these planes would be. There was a lake over there, and we'd see these fighter jets. They would be flying over all the time, and they would be breaking the sound barrier. Like you would see them, and then you hear the sonic boom go. So they had planes that were capable of doing that in Jersey.
That's a good question. Why the hell did they come from Cape Cod then? I mean, Jersey would have been a lot. You'd have been there in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Less than that, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, another failure point on that one. But at 8:55 a.m., U.S. President George W. Bush, who has arrived at an elementary school in Sarasota, Florida, is told that the plane has struck the World Trade Center, though details are uncertain. And that's what we were talking about, where he kind of stared at the camera for a minute, wondering what to do at that point, and just continued to read to the kids.
Which I think was probably the right call at that moment.
Right, because, I mean, honestly, we were talking about optics and everything, but I mean, this was a live event with him reading. So when they walked up and told him, if he were to just get up and leave, or without saying anything, or even if he did say something, at this point in time, the news was starting to pick it up, information was starting to get out there, but that would have freaked every single person out that was watching that,
And also, we don't even actually know what he was told to him, right?
Right.
They could have told him, hey, they could have just said something simple like, hey, a plane hit the World Trade Center. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what it is. So he could have been thinking something the way I thought. It's like, it might have been a mistake, like accidental, They don't know.
Now I got to explain why some stupid motherfucker was flying low enough to hit the Trade Center.
Right.
Yeah.
So who knows,
But at 8:58, Flight 175 sets a course for New York City. At this point in time, those planes from Cape Cod should have already been over the airspace in New York for this, or even close enough to head that Flight 175 off.
Mm-hmm.
There should have been response for this. That the time frame for all that, they would have already definitely been there. At 9 a.m., the Public Authority Police Department orders the evacuation of all civilians in the World Trade Center complex. So that happened 5 minutes before. Failures all over the place with this, dude.
Wait, they ordered an evacuation of the World Trade Center
5 minutes after the first plane hit. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the first plane hit.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand like the people on top of the tower, the first tower that was hit. I can understand, them kind of being trapped a little bit. But as soon as the plane hit, my first thought, I know there are multiple businesses and that building was huge as hell, but my first thought is get everybody the fuck out right now. Hit the fire alarm or something. Get them out immediately. Because I just watched a plane just run into one of the towers here. Pull the fire alarm immediately and get the hell out.
Yeah.
But also at 9 a.m., a passenger on Flight 175 contacts his father for the second time that morning and reportedly tells him, I think they intend to go to Chicago or someplace and fly into a building. Don't worry, Dad. If it happens, it'll be very fast. I couldn't imagine having that kind of call, though.
Did you have AOL back in the day?
CompuServe.
Okay. So I don't know if you got these chain emails, but like right after 9/11, like they would send out these emails with photos
Oh
and
yeah,
you know, like, yeah, it's crazy. Like people splattered on the ground from jumping out of the buildings. It was crazy.
yeah. That was back in the Wild West days of the internet, where nothing was, was shut down and shit. Yeah,
Yeah, you won't be able to do that now.
no, definitely not. Let's see, 9:03:11. This photo was taken. This was one of the photos I do remember seeing that was spread around. Like the subsequent smoke and fires and things like that were started. Those could be seen from miles.
Yeah, like last time we were talking, I was telling you there was parts in the town I live in that you were able to see the smoke.
Right. Let's see. Flight 175 crashes into the South Tower of the World Trade Center, striking between floors 77 and 85. That's 9:03. So yeah, let's see. Later turned off the passenger calls, provide information, hijackers, flight system, radio communication. Where was the? What has to be after that one? Stop with the rolling thing. Okay. 2 minutes later, hijackers' efforts are unsuccessful. Okay, so it was roughly around 10 minutes apart then. I was asleep between those times, so. But yeah, let's see, 77 and 85. Now, I don't know if most people have actually been on commercial airlines or anything like that. Like, these planes are fucking huge. They got like 20.
Yeah.
They got 20, 30 foot on just one wing. You know, these wingspans are huge, and they're flying in sideways to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah.
So between those floors, that's a good little bit of distance. But at 9:05, President Bush, who is reading to school children in a classroom, is told by his chief of staff, Andrew Card, that the second plane has struck the World Trade Center and that America is under attack. Now, this is where he just kind of paused at this point, because I remember this, and you know, I remember watching the news. But this is the point where he just paused and he's just like, so what the fuck do I do at this point?
Right.
Almost 20 minutes later, Flight 93 is notified by a United dispatcher that 2 planes have flown into the World Trade Center. 2 minutes later, the pilot asks the dispatcher to confirm the message. How can you... Okay. How can you confirm the message from these planes? All right? They're already dead. But yeah, I get the whole point behind that. The Federal Aviation 925 Federal Aviation Administration bars all civil aircraft in the United States from taking off.
Yeah, it's a little bit late.
Yeah. I mean, all these planes are already in the air. Things have already been happening, grounding anything else. That could have actually saved things from happening worse, though. Honestly.
True.
Because I'm pretty sure more were planned. So
Probably. Most likely.
At 9:29 a.m., hijackers on Flight 93 attack the cockpit. Mayday is declared over the radio transmission, and sounds of physical struggle are heard. On another transmission, seconds later, someone yells, "Get out of here."
I want to know how these guys got in the cockpits.
Well, at that time, you know, the cockpits were just like, they were a little bit more secure than the bathroom doors were, you know, but it wasn't like bomb blast doors kind of situation. No, they were metal doors and everything.
Hijackings
behind it was.
It's not like hijackings were an uncommon thing. Like they've happened, and they didn't think to make the doors secure so that nobody could take over a plane.
Apparently not. No.
That's wild. That's wild.
Like it was, like I said, it was a steel door, but it was just more like a little one of those slide lock things, and that's all that was at that point in time. You know, there were no mag locks or anything like that at that. Yeah, that's all you have to do is just cause a ruckus and have one of the people open the door. Just use that slide lock and you're in at that point in time. So yeah. Probably what happened because, with the physical struggle heard over the radio at that point, there was already probably something happening in the plane, and somebody was calling for the captain or co-pilot or something like that to come out. Controllers, 9:32 a.m. Controllers at Dulles, I think this is Dulles, I don't know. Observe an airplane traveling at a high rate of speed. 2 minutes later, officials at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport alert the Secret Service of a plane, later determined to be Flight 77, headed into the direction of the White House. That was the one that went down in Shanksville. A hijacker on Flight 93 announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, hear the captain. Please sit down and continue and keep. Please sit down. Keep remaining sitting." Yeah. Okay. These are. Yeah. The English was not their first language. I get you. We have a bomb on board, so sit. Passengers begin making phone calls, and they learn about the World Trade Center. At this point, I guess they would have to. It would have had to been like phones in the seats kind of situation.
Yeah, I guess so.
At 9:36 a.m., U.S. Vice President Dick Cheney, who shot a dude in the face and laughed about it.
Yeah.
I love bringing that up. Dick Cheney evacuated the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, which is located under the White House. Flight 77 hits the Pentagon in Virginia with the throttle set to maximum power. In addition to all those on the plane, 125 people on the ground and the building are ultimately killed. Now, there are some questions I want to bring up about that later on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to some photos with that. At 9:41, the transponder from Flight 93 is turned off. The FFA orders all 4,546 civil aircraft flying in the United States airspace to land. Jesus Christ.
There's a lot of planes out there.
Compared to now. Oh, God. That's a lot, though, dude. I didn't even know back then there was that many.
Yeah, that's a lot.
9:55, President Bush departs from Florida on Air Force One. Although the initial plan had been to return to Washington D.C., safety and other concerns result in a change of destination to the Air Force Base in Louisiana. Following the 9:57 a.m., following a vote, passengers aboard Flight 93 rush the cockpit and attempt to retake the plane. Despite a hijacker rolling the aircraft from side to side and later up and down, the passengers continue to batter at the cockpit door. 9:59 a.m., South Tower collapses. The following fallout from that, that's burned in anybody's mind that remembers this or even looks into that.
Nope.
At 10 a.m., all members of the New York's fire department are ordered to evacuate the North Tower. While many begin, I thought that said Ben leaving. It's too early. While many begin leaving, some do not hear the order, while others are unaware of its urgency. More than 400 emergency responders are ultimately killed in the World Trade Center attacks. Yeah, some of those weren't found till weeks later. I remember that. While they were clearing out the rubble and everything, they were still finding dead bodies.
Some weren't found. Like, some people didn't have any remains that didn't, like, it took years to find. And sometimes there's only, like, small pieces of bone that they were able to recover.
Some are still missing, which is the weirdest
Some are still missing.
Yeah. Like, 21 years later, some families still have no idea where their loved ones were. I don't know. For something like that, though, it'd kind of be like if you were planning to just, like, disappear, that would be the perfect time. If you just wanted to just get like, I went out of my wife, my kids, I just want to get away.
Go start a new life.
Perfect time for that. So maybe some of them took the opportunity. I don't know. But there are still some people missing from that.
Yeah, definitely.
10:02 a.m. With the passengers apparently close to the breaching the cockpit door on Flight 93, the hijackers decide to put it down and begin a sharp descent. During this time, the plane rolls upside down. Subsequent audio recordings have led some to believe that the passengers managed to get inside the cockpit and struggle over the controls. I could see, like, with a lot pushing on that door, with a lot of, just battering of that door, you can get into it semi quickly at that point in time. So I think they actually did get through at that point.
I think it's probably most likely. Because I don't know why the hijackers would decide to let it bring it down.
Yeah, I at that point, I'm probably sure they were just like, okay, we're not going to reach our destination. But I'd have continued until the very last second,
Until the very last second, yeah.
But yeah, at 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashes into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killing everyone on board. The plane would have reached Washington, D.C., its suspected destination, in about 20 minutes. So yeah, I think they actually got in.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm glad they actually did, because it
saved a lot more lives, yeah.
But there are air defense at the actual White House. I don't think, even if they didn't get through that door, I don't think that plane would have reached the White House at all. They do have air defense capabilities under the lawn of the White House. That is a thing.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is it was a civilian plane. If it was a military plane, like a foreign military plane, I could see that. But I'd have a hard time believing that they would shoot down a civilian aircraft.
If it was heading towards the White House and everything, you think President Bush would have second guessed that?
I don't even know if he would have any control over it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if. Yeah, it's hard to say, man. I don't know.
I don't think they would have reached it.
Because I think the blowback from our government taking down a civilian aircraft would be too much.
At that very moment, at that point,
yes, especially since the president. Well, the thing, if the president was in the White House, I think that would be a different story. But since the president wasn't at the White House,
but Dick Cheney was there too. He was in that bunker up underneath.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as things came out more and more about that kind of situation, people would have been pissed immediately. But I think everybody would have been like, okay, well, if that plane was actually headed towards the White House and everything, I can understand. So I think they would have gotten away with that. But
yeah.
Let's see. 10:24 a.m. All transatlantic flights headed to the United States are diverted to Canada. Oh, that's a good call, at least.
Yeah.
10:20. Well, that would have fucked Canada. I don't know. Was Trudeau? No, Trudeau wasn't prime minister at that point. But somebody would have been fucked in Canada. 10:28 a.m.
That's crazy. That photo is crazy.
Oh yeah. The North Tower collapses. In total, more than 2,700 people die at the World Trade Center complex. Yeah, that's just.
Would that say it was the North Tower?
North Tower collapses. Yeah. Look at that though. That's incredible to look at because you can see the steel beams and they look like little toothpicks. Then again, it also looks like there was a lot of rust in that building as well, though.
Yes, it does.
11:02 a.m. New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani orders the evacuation of Lower Manhattan. You should have already been doing that, though, dude.
A long time ago.
Yeah, that's 2 hours.
As soon as the first plane hit.
Yeah, that's all right. Y'all get the fuck out. Something's happening. Get out. That probably would have saved more lives, Giuliani. 12:16 p.m. U.S. airspace is cleared after the last plane lands. 1:04 p.m. after landing at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana, President Bush vows to hunt down and punish those responsible. Osama bin Laden, former founder of the militant Islamic group Al Qaeda, is already suspected of being behind the attack. Okay. How would you suspect this dude of being behind the attacks if there wasn't already chatter coming out about that? You know, if they already didn't know something was going to happen. Now, Al Qaeda and all that shit, you know, the Operation Iraqi Freedom and everything had already been happening. No. Iraqi Freedom came after, didn't it?
Yeah, so that was something I wanted to get into too. But before we go into that, we have this guy sitting in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I want to say his name is Khalil Sheikh Mohammed, I think, who has been sitting there for like the last 20 years. I think that I just saw on the news that he's just going to start going into trial now, right? But they call him the master. They call him the mastermind of 9/11. So who's the mastermind? Was it Bin Laden or was it this guy?
Dude, everybody was the mastermind from the fallout of all that. I mean, that was just that started the war on terror. So everybody was just pointing fingers at everybody to justify that. So I don't know, but he was in the chat. He said, "Don't blame me, but I overslept. But good morning, gentlemen." Yeah, yeah. I told him.
Good morning.
You know, yesterday I told him, "Hey, we're gonna do a little 9/11 special very early. If you want to be there, be on at 8:30." And so he said, "Like, I'll try." But it's whatever, Abel.
Oh, good.
But let's see.
What I want to talk about with Operation Iraqi Freedom, the global war on terror. Did you ever hear of a guy named Scott Horton?
Can't say that I think.
So he wrote a book called Enough Already, and it was about ending of the. It was before he wrote it before the whole Afghanistan pullout, but he was basically saying that the global war on terrorism needs to end, and he goes in depth about all the failures and everything that the global war on terrorism had, right? And it's the adverse effects that it had on it. Now, in the beginning of the book, he goes on to say that the decision to invade Iraq was made within days of 9/11 happening, right? And I was like, that's interesting because Iraq didn't happen until 2003. I think it was March of 2003 that the invasion actually happened. So they started planning on that, you know, started going to the news months before, started staging troops. And so recently, I was talking to one of my friends that was in the Marines. He's a couple years older than me. We're from the same town. So he was in the Marine Corps for 9/11. He was in his last year, as a matter of fact. I went in 2005, years later. And so we were just talking about the Marine Corps and all that. And so the topic of 9/11 came up. And so he was on his last year. He was infantry. So I said, were you guys start getting ready to go to Afghanistan at that point? And he says to me, no, we were getting ready to go to Iraq. I was like, Iraq? And he's like, yeah. It's like in 2001. It's like, yeah. So you were planning, your unit was training to go to Iraq in 2001 after 9/11. And he was like, yeah. I was like, Iraq wasn't even like a thing then. And he's like, I don't know. It's like that's what they said we were doing. We're getting ready to go to Iraq. So then with him saying that, and then what Scott Horton said in his book about the decision being made within days of 9/11, I was like, wow. Like the whole weapons of mass destruction, all that stuff, they just took an opportunity. So 9/11 happens. Oh, we could go invade Iraq and start the global war on terror to justify going to Iraq and destroying the whole country.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
So, okay. At that point in time, Saddam Hussein was still the leader of Iraq, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why? Why was that a thing? I mean, Saddam Hussein was, okay, well, to be honest, we did put Saddam Hussein in power, but why?
Well, so they start the global war on terror, right? And then they say that, what happened with George Bush Sr., in Desert Storm, 91, whatever year that was. I think it was 91, first Gulf War. Iraq invades Kuwait, and then the whole thing, right?
Right.
So then they Saddam stays in power. They didn't take him out. So now his George Bush Sr.'s son's in office. This thing happens, and then the global war on terror. All of a sudden, they say Saddam Hussein is harboring terrorists, because that's one of the things George Bush said. Is because if you are a nation harboring terrorists, we're going to come after you, right? The whole global war on terror. We're going to take out all terrorists all over the world, right?
Which, according to NATO, is everybody.
Yeah. So then they said they had weapons of mass destruction, right? So at the time, nobody's questioning, well, what's weapons of mass destruction? Are you talking nuclear weapons? Or are you talking about gas? Right? So that was the whole big thing in Iraq, was the possibility of gas. So it turns out there were no weapons of mass destruction, right? There was no terrorists in Iraq until we took out Iraq's government. And then it created a power vacuum. So then you had your terrorist groups from Iran come in, with Al-Qaeda coming in and trying to take power. But we created that. The United States created that because we took out a functioning government. Like, Iraq was a functioning government. Like, yeah, it was a dictator. Yeah, he did a lot of bad things, but the country was operating. When we came in and took out the whole government, destroyed its military, destroyed its whole police force that it had. Like, we took out the whole military. Anybody that was a part of Saddam's military was removed. They had no military. You had to build it up from the ground. You had to go and find people to try to join a newly forming military. When you have now these terrorist organizations coming in, trying to take power, threatening anybody that works with Americans. You go and work with Americans, we're going to kill you, we're going to kill your family, we're going to rape your family in front of you, right?
Right.
Created a whole bad situation.
That's what normally happens, though, with that. You know,
I mean, you
could
could
have
left
something like that. Yeah.
And you could have left some of the people in the military that, you know, were not going to be loyal to Saddam for whatever. Like, you took out the whole thing.
Yeah.
Destroyed it completely. And it caused a bunch of, like, Iraq is still not a well-functioning country. We pulled out, and when did Obama pull us out of there? 2007, 2008, 2009-ish, right?
I don't remember fully.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't 2007. It was because I was there in 2007. 2008, 2009, 2010-ish, I think we pulled out of Iraq. And then ISIS comes. And then you have a whole bunch of fighting with ISIS. And you still have an unstable government. Like, did you see what happened in Iraq within the last couple of days?
No, I have not.
Like, Baghdad was a complete war zone. The people are rising up, trying to take out this leader that's the government of Iraq again. Like, it was a complete war zone in Baghdad. Like, the citizens there are armed, and they come and they took up arms against the Iraqi government.
Okay, so I'm looking at it here. The withdrawal of the United States troops from Iraq began in December of 2007 with the end of the Iraqi war. Troops surged in 2007. It was mostly
the withdrawal of United States troops from Iraq began in December 2007.
Yeah.
With that.
And let's see, was mostly completed by December of 2011, bringing an end to the Iraq war. The number of U.S. military forces in Iraq peaked at 170,300 in November of 2007.
I was in Iraq in December 2007, and I didn't know that we were withdrawing.
Wow.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, with all that we did, I will admit we did create our own power vacuum with everything included into that, and we caused a lot. But that's what the American military does. Well, not the military, but that's what our government does, man.
And you know what? I had this back in the day, you know, when 9/11 happens, then the whole lead up to Iraq, you know, I had a different stance on it than I do now. And I was like, yeah, let's go get these terrorists, you know, let's go knock these terrorists out. And I looked at people who were against the Iraq war as being like these leftist Vietnam era hippies who hated the United States, right?
Right.
And I've changed my position on that now. And now I'm like, I'm not. A lot of people think I take like an anti-war stance. I'm not anti-war. I'm a warrior, right? But I also know the cost of war, and I don't want to see American troops go into war under false pretenses again. I know too many people who suffer from physical and mental injuries on a war that was under false pretenses. Like you sold us a lie. You said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and they were harboring terrorists. It was a lie.
Yes, it was.
People have lost limbs. There's children growing up without fathers and mothers, and people's lives have been destroyed. We destroyed a whole nother country over it. And I don't want to see that happen again. I only want United States troops to be involved in things that actually have our national security interest. Like something that's in a direct threat to our national security.
Right.
And so when this whole Russia and Ukraine thing started happening, it started giving me, I was like, this reminds me of Iraq. And they started talking about Russia's killing civilians, committing war crimes, proven a war criminal. They're trying to justify sending troops to Eastern Europe to go start a war, another 20-year war over there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what would happen. If we send troops there, we're going to be there for the next 20 years, just like we were in Afghanistan.
I mean, we never really fully pull out of anywhere that we go to. I mean, we're still in Germany, we're still in Japan, we're still in every single place. We never
except for Iraq
pull out. You know.
Well, listen, when I was in Iraq, I was like, you know what? Like, I like the Middle East. I think that has a lot to offer, right? And I said, I thought Iraq was going to turn into the next Dubai. I was like, I could see Iraq becoming the next Dubai. And
what do you mean by that?
I thought that it would build up. I thought it would become a travel destination. I thought that we would keep a base there. I thought it was going to become like a regular duty station like we have in Japan. And I saw that Iraq was going to become like a regular duty station. I thought that if we stayed there, we would be able to influence, the government there and get it working properly. And the economy in Iraq was going to improve. And eventually it would become a powerhouse in the Middle East as far as economy goes, right? And that's what I thought was going to happen. I was thinking that what happened with South Korea after the Korean War would kind of happen in Iraq, right? But and that could have happened. That could have happened with Iraq, but we decided to just leave and just let the Wild West take over, And I think that was a big mistake. And I think that really hurt our influence across the world, especially what happened in Afghanistan most recently. The United States comes in, says it's going to bring democracy, and then they're just going to get up and leave.
Right.
And let terrorists take back over.
So, I mean, going through all this, it kind of sounds like, I don't know how long this has been going on. Maybe it's something to look into, but it sounds like we've created our own Desert Storm incident time and time again with them. Like it's a never-ending thing with them, apparently, Like, okay, so Desert Storm, I'm not too 100% sure about that, but that was when we installed Saddam Hussein, right?
No. So Saddam was already in power, but he decided he wanted to go invade Kuwait and take over Kuwait.
Okay, so yeah, that started that whole thing.
Yeah, so we went to go help Kuwait and that was like a pretty quick thing. Wasn't troops were staged over in Saudi Arabia for months, right? And the actual war itself, like Saddam's army, kind of just like,
I don't want nothing to do with this shit.
Yeah. And Saddam was pretty bitter about that, but that had a big thing to do with Afghanistan and Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda, right?
Right.
Because we had a base in Saudi Arabia, and that's in Islam, Saudi Arabia is where Mecca is. That's a big holy site for them. And in Scott Horton's book, he explains all this, and is basically Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden. But prior to 9/11, Al-Qaeda was only a couple hundred people.
Okay.
And we played into them, and we advanced their objective more than they could do themselves, right? So they pull off 9/11. Al-Qaeda is only a couple hundred people. Their whole mission, the whole purpose was to provoke the United States into invading their countries, right? So they could use that as propaganda to grow themselves, right? And that's what happened. So the United States, they wanted to get the United States out of Saudi Arabia and they wanted to get United States influence out of the Middle East.
Right.
They knew that they could do that by getting them over there, starting a war, having them come and invade, and they would be able to put their spin on it. But they wanted to bring their version of Islam across the whole Middle East. So
hold on
they
a second.
thought they could. Yeah,
I admit that was perfect timing because as you were talking, I could hear a plane flying above you. And I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah, so they wanted to bring their version of Islam to the whole Middle East, right? So they were going to try to do that to unite Middle Eastern countries into their whole way of thinking, right? Which is a whole different thing, right? Because the Middle East is not a monolith, right?
Right.
They're not all Muslims. There's Christians, there's Jews, they're smaller minorities, but they're not all the same, right? And then you have people that are religious, people that are not religious, right? So you have Muslims in the Middle East that don't really practice it. They're just like same thing here, right? You have Christians here that grew up, or they say they're Christian, but they don't really practice it. They don't go to church. There's Muslims that don't go to the mosque. They don't go to services. They don't really do anything with it, right? And I would say they're probably a bigger majority over there than, it's just the same thing here, right? With Christianity.
Oh yeah.
So that would be a harder sell, but that's what they were trying to do. And they were trying to, the way Scott Horton wrote about it, it's a lot more elegant. I don't remember exactly everything that he said, how he explained it. I have to go back and read it again, but we pretty much advanced Al-Qaeda's message more than they ever could. And we, as other things happen in other countries, he uses the term bin Ladenites, right?
Right.
So people that subscribe to his type of ideology. Now, when the whole thing with ISIS happened in Syria, and you had who was the leader of Syria? What's his name?
I don't know. At that point, I wasn't really caring back then.
He's still there now. He's still there now. What's his name? I can't remember his name. But anyway, the United States wanted him out, right? So you had a three-way war here. You had the Syrian government.
Al-Assad?
Al-Assad, yeah. So you had United States wanted this guy out. But they didn't want to go and do a direct intervention to get him out of office. So you had like a three-way war going on. You had the Syrian government, you had the United States, and you had and so Al-Assad's government is also backed by Russia, by the way. And then you had ISIS, right?
Right.
But they were the rebels. I don't know if you remember Obama talking about the rebels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was ISIS. Okay. And you hear him,
we've done with that now.
We were helping the rebels fight against Al-Assad, right? Against the Syrian government.
Right.
To take him out. We were funding and backing ISIS.
Yep.
Okay.
I remember that, yes.
And then they want to take, and so then they start moving into Iraq. They want to take over. They want to start the Syrian and Iraqi Islamic State. They want to take Syria and Iraq, make it one, take over the whole government. And they took over a big portion of it, create a whole mess. We could go on for a while about all that, but
yeah, I mean, we always create messes wherever we go, man. It never it never stops. We move into an area to help the people, and we
make it
worse.
And make it worse. Oh.
Yeah.
I think the only place that we were successful in actually doing that is like Japan and South Korea.
Well, Japan, we drop bombs on them, and they're just like, okay, we're not doing anything again. Just y'all calm
but
the fuck down.
70 years, and like 70 years later, it's a pretty nice place, you know.
We got something right.
And you got South Korea, which is like a powerhouse technology over there,
right?
And but
yeah,
but like we said, the thing is, the difference is in those places we stayed there, we didn't leave.
No.
We try to leave. We create chaos in the Middle East, and then we leave, which creates more chaos
every time. But yeah, at 5:20 p.m. on September 11, 2001, 7 World Trade Center collapses. Now that was the actual second tower at that point. The first one went down a couple hours later. The second one goes down as well. We don't have a lot.
Wait, no, isn't that the? I thought that was the building that was next to them that falls. Tower 7.
Well, yeah, wasn't there like 2 or 3 involved in that whole thing though?
That fell, yeah.
But yeah, President Bush arrives back at the White House at 8:30 p.m. During his speech, he announces the terrorist attacks can shake the foundation of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. Now, I will admit, as stupid as Bush was, he gave some
good
damn good speeches about it
at the right time. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, that sparked the whole thing here. Now, I'm not trying to kind of like dismiss any of this or anything of that nature. How did these come up? Oh, I must look at the picture. Now, okay, this one right here. Let me go to the actual picture. This was the Pentagon attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
As big as that plane was, where are any kind of rubble or pieces of the plane in that photo? I mean, as big as that airline was, you should see an engine, you should see a wing, you should see something. But you see absolutely no fragments from the plane at all in this picture.
Yeah. I would like to see like a picture of scale of like how big the plane would be against that photo, you know? And you got to think about how fast was it going? And
it was going maximum speed into the Pentagon. I remember that.
Yeah. So like I'm not I don't know how much would have survived from it, you know? Like I could see the wings completely just falling off. Like I don't think
there should be something remaining anywhere in that area.
I could see the body of the plane causing that, but I don't. Yeah, I don't see the wings surviving or staying intact. As soon as it hits, those are falling off. I would imagine.
Right.
But the engines are on the wings. So
where is one? There was one photo. Stop that. I'm gonna have to bring it up again. Images. Now, this is kind of what got me, like right here on this one. This is kind of what got me into thinking, wait a minute, something is wrong. If that plane was flying full speed, it would have done more damage than this. Okay, you got the roof ripped off back here. And
Oh, so it almost went through the whole thing, huh?
it went through one corridor. Now, at max speed, that should have done more damage, though, shouldn't it have? I mean, you're talking about it went through the entire World Trade Center. When the plane hit, it blew out back into that. At least that second corridor should have more damage.
Well, it looks like. Oh, okay. I see. So that's not from the plane over here. That's just the way the building's designed. It looks like.
Right. The plane
'Cause I'm looking at
smashed
the other
into
end,
the part that's collapsed in here. And
Right.
it looks like there's
And
been some
then-
damage over here. Maybe from, I don't understand how the entire corridor here was ripped off and popping on both sides. I don't get that. But nothing about that looks like a plane strike to me, And this is what made me start questioning things like that when I saw this. Because a plane would have done a lot more damage than what we see here.
And and that was like the angle that it hit on. Like, what are the chances that you could fly it? And like the Pentagon's not that high,
No.
And like, how to hit it directly as it did? That's pretty crazy because it had to been flying really low for a long time to get at that angle.
Mm-hmm. And to do the little
almost
amount of
on the
damage that it did,
And for it to not crash into the ground.
Let's just say the pilot, whoever did that, was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like enough damage for a plane strike compared to the actual towers themselves, So, I mean, that kind of what made me start questioning that. Now, I did remember seeing the videos time and time again, especially the months following of the plane striking. I know that happened, but there was never anything that came out about this. Like, it was a little bit of information, but it was kind of
I did see
overshadowed.
I saw like security camera footage, but
Right.
it goes in, it's not full video. It goes in like it's like pictures being taken. And so you see like for 1 second there's a plane in like the corner of the frame, and then the next thing is a explosion.
Right.
So you don't actually see the plane hitting. It's just like a picture of planes in view, and then an explosion.
Right. But there was...
But I don't think there's actually any... You would think that there'd be some type of video surveillance at the Pentagon somewhere. Right?
Oh, yeah, there should be. I mean, you're talking about like little stills and everything at the Pentagon. I
mean,
can
there should be
understand
actual
this home
video.
security camera doing that shit. But yeah, that should be...
There should be actual video somewhere, yeah. At the Pentagon, of all places.
Right. Go into these as well. Images. Now, here's what another thing that really gets me about the World Trade Center. Like I said, I do remember seeing the planes multiple times throughout the subsequent months of this happening. But what really gets me is the way they fell. Like this one right here. You can see it kind of collapse a little bit to the side.
Yeah.
But like we were showing earlier, these buildings came straight down.
Yep.
Like you would see in controlled demolition. These buildings came straight down. They didn't
And
fall
especially
over.
those and like that building 7 that collapsed a couple hours later that never didn't get hit by anything. And that fell the same way.
Right.
Why?
I don't know.
How did that fall? There was a couple buildings that fell after that.
Let's see. Yeah, see, like this one right here. These buildings during an actual fall. Now, these towers were huge. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys can see that these towers were huge.
Yeah.
But they fell straight down. None of the other buildings, other than like rubble bouncing off and things like that. None of the other buildings were damaged in any way. These towers should have collapsed sideways on some points or done more damage at least. But no, these things fell straight down, you know? So that sparked a whole bunch of rumors about, this being an inside job. Like this one right here, you can see the actual collapse actually starting to happen.
Yeah.
There's right here. Oh, you're not gonna let me click on it? Whatever. But yeah, you can see the rubbles just start to fall straight down. Nothing really collapsed sideways in any way. And it sparked a whole bunch of things. And looking back on it, as much as we know about our government and everything like that, I'm gonna say they allowed this shit to happen. And I don't mean to make that sound bad in any way, not trying to play down anything or spark anybody's PTSD or anything from this, but
yeah,
it just, there's too much about this that is so questionable. Like
I had a
shooting, and there's so much around.
Yeah, that's another good topic we could cover one day. But I had it for a long time. I really had a hard time believing that our government would be involved in something like that, right? To kill or allow so many of its own citizens to be killed, right? I had a real hard time believing that for a long time. I didn't want to believe it.
Oh, I didn't want to either,
And I still don't want to believe it. However, after the things I've seen over the last couple of years, the more information and more research I do on what happened with Iraq in relation to 9/11, I now believe that it's not outside the realm of possibility.
Oh God, no. I'm
and that was something that
towards the thing
that was something that I did not want to believe before. It was out of my no, I can't believe that, but now I can believe it.
Oh yeah,
it's not out of the realm of possibility, and I would not put it past the United States government to do that.
Well, I mean, especially
it's horrible to say. Yeah, knowing what we know now,
Yeah, knowing what we know now, especially with you saying days after this, they were just like, okay, let's go invade Iraq. It's just like the whole saying of never let a good crisis go to waste.
But just the way the deep state of our government has been operating, that's really come, that we've all been able to watch since Donald Trump started running for office, and whenever that was, 2015, he announced. Just seeing what they've been doing since then with that, COVID, everything else, how they are the deep state's a real thing, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a real thing, and I would not put it past them. Now, so that's the other thing. Now, do I think that George Bush necessarily had anything to do with this, directly? Or was it the deep state?
George Bush, I would say no, because George Bush was too much of a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I think he did. Could he have known something? Maybe, but I don't think he was the type.
I think he definitely saw the opportunity after it happened for Iraq, right?
Yeah.
Which I think that also probably could have been the deep state trying to maneuver him, trying to manipulate his actions, right?
Right.
So I believe that is definitely a possibility as well.
Little gaming buddy Bob Hartle's in the chat saying, "Yo, what's going on, Bob?" But yeah, I mean, even in just this photo alone, now, like I was saying, everything collapsed straight down like a controlled demolition shit. You could see damage, and this was.
And they say supposedly that's how those buildings were designed. Supposedly that's what they say.
It was designed to do. I don't know.
They say it was designed to collapse in itself. So to prevent them from falling that way, to create more damage to the surrounding buildings, right? So they say it was designed to collapse in on itself instead of falling over. But the way that
built,
that's a good question. But it does look the way that where that plane, the first plane hit, it definitely looks like one side. It didn't go all the way through, right? So one side, it's kind of like when you look at like a Jenga board, right? And you take the one side, you move pieces out, you make that one side unstable. It looks like the top should have collapsed in one way, and it shouldn't have gone straight down. So I don't understand how that did happen.
Let's see. One World Trade Center, 1972, 1973 to 7 World Trade Center, 1987. Maybe. That's just gonna maybe going back to that kind of frame. But I still kind of question that in itself because buildings from that long ago have asbestos shit in them. You know, it's like
right.
Being a huge project, yeah, they probably put a lot more thought into it and everything. But I kind of question that whole line of thinking as well. You know, but there's just so much about this that's still incredibly questionable. And you know, they heard chatter way before any of this happened. Didn't think it was a threat. Oh, well, mass shooters, they always know about them. But to have this happen at this point.
But let's not forget that the World Trade Center was bombed.
Yeah,
in the 90s.
Yes, it
in
was.
The basement. So I mean, they know that it was a target.
It was, yeah. There was, that was a thing too. You know, that was wasn't that after the Kansas City bombing, the Unabomber?
I'm not sure what the course of events on that was, but
yeah, there was a bombing that did happen at about that time, and you know,
it was
maybe
at the loading. It was a loading dock, I think. The truck bomb.
I'm not too sure the events on that,
yeah.
But yeah, there's, you know, maybe the retrofit for that kind of thing happened afterwards, as far as like maybe coming down into itself, but that's going to be a huge undertaking as far as that goes, and I think we should have known something about that beforehand. But I don't know. Like I said, there's way too much questionable shit about this, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, like you were saying, back then, you know, I was all into the belief that, you know, anybody's just like, oh, well, the government did it. Y'all are crazy. You really are.
That's what I thought too, yeah.
20 years later, knowing what we know, knowing what our government is capable of, knowing what they can and will do.
It's not too crazy anymore.
No, it isn't. It's just more like maybe y'all motherfuckers had a point, you know?
Maybe I had a point, yeah.
Conspiracy theory be damned. You got something here.
Definitely.
But yeah, I know we don't have much more time for you. You got a hard stop coming up.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts on this whole thing, dude. I mean, just like walk me through it from beginning to end, how you came to the conclusion about everything.
So even like within the last couple months, I had a lot of my friends were telling me like, dude, I'm really starting to think that the whole 9/11 thing, you know, was an inside job. And I was like, even then I was like, I don't know, man. And even my wife says it. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could believe that. And, but just doing more research as I started reading into Scott Horton's book about really what happened was with the pullout of Afghanistan, I really started looking into more things. And I came across Scott Horton and his book on the global war on terrorism and how the whole Iraq war is tied in with 9/11. And then just watching things that happened over the last couple of years with COVID, with how they're coming after anybody and everybody that's associated with Donald Trump, how the deep state really operates, how they really think that they're in control and that they are pretty much puppeteers with our politicians. With all those factors in together, like when you take just one of those things I mentioned, you look at them by themselves, it's not really enough to compel the evidence for that to say that, yeah, it was definitely like an inside job. But when you take all those things together and you start looking at it, that paints a totally different picture. To where I don't want to say definitively like, yeah, I think that our government had something to do with it, but I could definitely say that there is a possibility. There is actually a strong possibility that our government did play some type of role in that to try to change the course of events, whether that was for their wars in the Middle East, Iraq, get rid of Saddam, using some type of a false flag terror attack that actually kills a lot of Americans to justify going to war like that is totally in the realm of possibility. And I wouldn't put it past the government to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, well, for me, it was kind of the same thing. Months after that, there were things where this is happening. They did this, they did that. Me, it was just like y'all are saying this is not a thing. And you know, looking back on everything now, especially the incidents that happened in Waco, things like that. You have to understand the government does not give a shit about you. They will
Nope.
end you
Absolutely
in a
not.
heartbeat,
Absolutely.
even to advance their agenda. And
Yep.
we see that now more and more come to fruition today.
Yep. Absolutely.
I am now of sound mind that there is something more sinister and more deeply disturbing about this than we as Americans are willing to at least admit to.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I wouldn't say Bush knew anything about it as far as that goes, because like I said, he's an idiot. He's not going to. That dude had no mental capability of even trying to plan any of this out. But our government think tank, yes, they can, and
Yep.
they probably did. I mean, I can't prove it 100%. Nobody can, but
Right.
like I said earlier, I started questioning as soon as I saw the pictures of the Pentagon. I was just like, okay, I don't see any rubble or remnants of anything from this plane. That looks like maybe a wing clip, and that was it as far as the damage. But where's everything else? Even
Right.
then, there should be some damage elsewhere into the Pentagon. The plane that went down in Shanksville. Okay, I could actually see that happening. I could
Yeah.
see us as Americans, especially that time, us as Americans, being like, if I don't do something, there's going to be a lot more dead, and I'm going to die anyway. So let's just try to save
Right.
lives as we go.
Yep.
So I don't think that would happen now. Especially, if something were to happen now, they'd just be like, oh, well, we're headed to Trump supporters. Let's do it.
Oh, you know what? We deserve it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
America's a disgusting country anyway. Do what you want to do with it.
So obvious it is. But then what? But then what? The whole thing actually, let me flip back here, Bob. The whole thing on that actually started, our global war on terror, where we just pretty much ran up into any place where we felt like.
Yep.
That I think that was the whole plan behind that, because as Travis was talking about, days after this event, they okayed the green light to walk into Iraq. Iraq had nothing to do with this.
Nope.
So it sparked a whole big thing for justification into it all. Like, for us to go to war as Americans, like Bob's Canadian, but for us to go to war, declare war as Americans, we have to go through Congress and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The way we circumvent that is calling it a military police action.
Right.
Kind of like what was it? Vietnam was
Yep.
the most famous military police action. That's
Yep.
the way we
It's not
circumvent
enough.
our Congress.
It's not an official war as a what was that? It's a contingency or something?
Right. But there is one other thing I did want to bring up that what was it? I think it was like a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks beforehand, like $2 trillion came up missing, and they were starting to investigate where this went to. And I haven't looked into a whole bunch of this, but I do know this is the thing that, like, trillions of
What,
dollars
back
had
in
come up missing.
in 2021. I mean 2001.
Yeah, before this happened.
I think I did hear something about that somewhere.
Yeah,
But
before
totally
this
forgot about
happened, there
that.
was over $2 trillion that had come up missing. Starting to investigate, and of course, the evidence was at the World Trade Center for all of that at that point in time, and this happened.
Wow. I'm
So-
gonna do some more research into that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little
That's
bit
interesting.
Once you start looking, I'm definitely going to look into that a little more myself. But once you start hearing about that, you start looking into a little bit of information about that, you're just like, this is a cover up. And this is something that they've done to cover it up and to get away with it because, well, trillions of dollars come up missing. How do you make people forget about that or stop caring altogether?
Wow.
A national incident.
That's interesting. Definitely interesting. Wow.
Yeah, but I'm going to look up more about that a little bit later on, and we'll bring it up again here.
Definitely.
You don't have long left to go. Where can everybody find you at, Travis?
Find me on TikTok, Flip the Script Podcast.
Yep. Say it again. Sorry,
TikTok.
I had the wrong camera.
Oh, that's all right. TikTok, Flip the Script Podcast, script underscore podcast. And that's the same thing for Instagram. Facebook is Flip the Script Podcast, and YouTube Flip the Script Podcast as well.
All right. And yeah, you definitely got to get more involved with YouTube here.
Yeah, definitely.
We're growing a little bit, but I'm not surprised by it. But Freely Ashley started hers not too long ago, and she's already blown us out the water with everything. I'm proud of that woman. I really am. She's starting to work now, and there's
Nice.
more coming from her as well.
Awesome. Good. Awesome.
But yeah, as far as everything with that goes, I would want to get into this a little more, but Travis does have to go, and this is very, very interesting. If you guys need to look up into these things a lot more about this kind of thing, don't just listen to the news and just write it off as they're telling you everything. We already know they're lying.
Yep.
But all right, we're gonna go ahead and end this here, so you can get ready for your event you've got going on. I've got to wash clothes and get packed up. I'm going on a work trip for the next week as well. We're still gonna try to do this.
Sounds good.
From my end, remotely, so we're not gonna take any kind of time off with this. But
awesome.
Abel will probably have to do all the the arranging of that, unless I can get better than hotel Wi-Fi at that point. But ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave you with this. Well, first, Travis, do you have any last words altogether?
Just thanks for having me. As always, a great conversation, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Oh, definitely, man. We'll definitely have you back on. But ladies and gentlemen, I am hitting wrong button after wrong button. Is way too early. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate y'all hanging out. We're gonna leave you with this. First of all, make sure you like, share. Let's get to talking again, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we are here. We want to hear from you, your thoughts on everything. But, as always, you have a voice. It is important. Please, sit down. Let's have a chat. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you again very soon.